stayed dry this weekend, or if you didn't stay dry, at least you enjoyed yourself out in the rain, playing around in the water. There's plenty of water to play around in this weekend. Yeah, Mr. Brock went old school this morning. Went old school, went back to the mustache. And there's a reason I'm doing that this week. Just having some fun, playing around with filter. Got the shades on there. Yeah. I'm going back to my high school. This is how I looked in high school. I didn't wear shades much in high school though, but I had the mustache in high school. That was my luck. And the reason I'm doing that is Friday I will not be here because I'm going to my high school reunion. So I'm going back. I'll be at my high school on Friday. So I won't be at this high school. I'll be at mine. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm seeing a lot of my old classmates from 40 years ago. Yes, my 40th reunion. So I'm going back to my old high school back in Oklahoma, traveling over there, having there'd be a pep assembly in the morning that we got to go to, where there'll be an alumni seating section. There's going to be a parade in the afternoon. I get to be in a parade. I'll throw candy and all that good stuff. Go to the football game that night, and then we'll have a big dinner on Saturday evening for everybody and their spouses. So we'll just hang out together and see what life's been like for the last 40 years. So I'm excited about that. I don't think I could really grow a mustache back by Friday. So they'll just have to recognize me without it. But I just thought I'd wear the mustache this week just because it gets me thinking about high school again. Yeah, I grew a mustache at like 14, and my dad hated it because he didn't like beards or mustaches, and he tried to get me shave it one day, but I was too big for him to drag to the bathroom and forcefully shave. So he gave up finally. But anyway, so yes, I will not be here Friday. Oh, that is not right. If you need me Friday, you can email me, but I won't see it until Monday because I'm going to leave Thursday evening and come back Sunday afternoon probably. So I will be totally out, just enjoying reliving the high school days, having some fun with that. So okay, let's see. We got the buzz pulled up here. I've got a lot to grade. I know several of you have turned in stuff, and I have not got a grade in there. I saw some email this morning. Some of you are emailing me the program. Like, if you turned in your program and it had something missing or something that was wrong with it, and I sent you email back, or I sent you a video, or I commented on your template. Some of you have fixed those things and resubmitted it, but it's like, hey, Buzz didn't let me resubmit it. So if I didn't do that, you can email it to me. I try to remember on Buzz, if you don't get 100%, click that little retry button to allow you to resubmit it. If you want to, you don't have to resubmit it, but I try to click that to where you have that option. But if you want to turn something in again, like a second program, or you forget something, you want to redo it, you can always just email me the file. And some of you have done that. I've got some email files that I just got this morning. I got to grade those, and I'll go back and update the grades. But I'll get the grades updated real soon here. So if you got something, and if it shows you've got it submitted in Buzz, you're in good shape. And then again, a couple of people have also emailed me something, so we'll get there. All right, let's look at what we have this week for our lesson. And we do have another program we're writing this week, so there is a template in Google Classroom for you to use. But let's look at the lesson first. We're going to add something to our skills again. So looking at Intro to Computer Science. Now go to our grade screen. You should have everything in up until 1.04. That's not right. 1.04 is due yesterday. I didn't get that turned in. 1.04 is now past due. See, it's red because I didn't turn it in. So I got to get that turned in. Fake student hadn't done his job there. This week is 1.05. That's what is due Sunday. 1.05 string input. So let's go back to the activities. Down to 1.05 string input lesson. Input strings. So if you've ever experienced the joy of ordering food online, and most of you have, congrats. It's probably one of the many encounters you've had with providing user input. When you choose white or wheat bread, or make a special note to hold the mayo, you expect the restaurant to do something with that information, right? You don't just type it just guys, hey, for grins and giggles. No, you expect them to actually read that and give you what you asked for. So let's say you want to write a program that asks users to input information that you can use. So lucky for you, Python has an input function already built in. We don't have to do anything real fancy. It's already there. So after completing this lesson, we're going to be able to use the input function to ask the user for specific input. And then we're going to define the input and output for a program using pseudocode. So we're going to start using pseudocode. And believe it or not, you've already written pseudocode because that was the first assignment I gave you. Like, how do you make a sandwich? How do you make a bowl of cereal? That was actually just practicing pseudocode, breaking something down into the steps required. And we're going to do that with our program this week. All right, so far your programs have been pretty one-sided. You've written something for yourself and you printed it to the screen. So every user that runs your program sees the same thing, whatever you told it to print. But assuming you're not the only one who want to interact with your programs, there's another skill you need: interactivity. Interactivity, we need that because it's very critical in everything you do. In websites, you enter things all the time. In apps, you enter things all the time. So you can write code that will interact with users and assign values to variables for safekeeping. So let's learn how to make your programs interactive. So Python has this built-in function called input. Look, there's the input. It has two parentheses after it. Let's see if I click on it. What's it doing? I just wondered. It was a link, so I clicked on it. I'm seeing what it opens. Oh, it opens up our reference guide. It's right there in the menu, the reference. And it shows you input right there, input as a message. So the input function prompts the user for input from the keyboard and returns the result as a string value. So it just automatically, if you just type input parentheses, whatever parentheses, it's going to assume it is letters, characters that you're typing in there. And then here's some examples. We're going to see some examples in our lesson. So this allows programmers to create interactive statements for users, to ask users for information. So important, to get input, you must prompt the user. That means tell the user what you're asking for. Don't just open up a box from the type in because I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to type? Is this asking me? What's it asking? I don't know. So you need to provide a string literal prompt like enter your name. If I had to enter your name, I didn't know what to type in there. Do you like Oreos? Then I know, oh, it's a yes or no question. I need to put, yes or no or Y or N. So you got to give the user instructions anytime you use input. So let's look at this following input statement. This is what your code would look like if you had asked the user for their name. We have this variable, and we looked at variables, first name. Right? We looked at variables last week, and this is in camel case, first name, one word, capitalize the N, equals, that means we're going to assign a value to that variable, and we're using an input statement to do so. Input parentheses, and inside the parentheses, we put in quotes because we literally want it to print what we have in quotes, right? Don't just print something weird. Print exactly what I've typed in the quotes. Hello, what is your name? So this is what's going to pop up on the screen. So the user will see, hello, what is your name, with a little box underneath it. They need to type something in. So they would type their name, and we would save that in this variable called first name. So the program will stop at that point when it gets to that line and wait for the user to answer. And then once they respond, it'll capture their answer and put it in that variable first name. So with enough of these input and output codes, you can design a simple conversation. Like for the program to have a conversation with the user, kind of like a chat bot type thing, right? It's a computer program that simulates a conversation between a person and a computer. So we're ready to put it together. Here's our chance to experiment with it. Let's take a look at how this would work in a program. All right, input sample, define main. Always have to have our define main. And there's our ending. We're done writing our main function. You can run it now. First name equals input, enter your name. And then print hello, and that's in quotes, notice, hello, comma, and a space is in quotes because we literally want that to be printed on the screen. Plus, remember, that's how we concatenate, put things together. Don't just print hello, and then print whatever the person entered. What did they type into your name? And then also after that, I want you to print an exclamation mark because I'm real excited to meet them. All right, so let's run our program and see what it looks like. Oh, here it is. Pops up on the screen and says, enter your name. That's what we expected it to do. That's what it said in the program there. Enter your name. So I'm going to say my name is Frederick. And it'll say, hello, Frederick. Simple as that, right? We asked for their name with the input statement. We saved it in this variable called first name, and then we used it in a print statement to say hello. Hello, Frederick. Simple. We just got to make sure we got the parentheses right. We've got a quote around the question we're asking them. We have the equal sign, the variable. There's a lot of syntax we've got to pay attention to, but it works pretty simply. Let's look at the second slide. Do it again and again. Read the code, try to predict the output. Let's see, did the code change? Looks like the exact same code, right? Oh, yeah, it's the exact same code. Run the program. It says enter Grace as the name. All right. Run program, Grace. Hello, Grace. Very nice. Look at the output. Now run it again and type your own name. Oh, okay. Mr. Brock. Oh, capitalize that. Hello, Mr. Brock. It's all right there. Let's look at the next slide. So yeah, you can run it and type something new every time. Read the code, predict the output. Oh, we have something called some variable. That's pretty random. And input with nothing inside the parentheses. And it says your value is some variable. Run. See what happened when it popped up the input box here? It doesn't tell me what it's asking for. There's nothing up here telling me what it wants. What should I put here? Some number? 356. Your value is, what should I put here? Some number, 356. It printed exactly what I typed, but I had no idea what to type. See, you don't know what to put. So this is not a good input statement. So let's look at the next slide, see if they fix that. No, we're going to fix that, apparently. Fix the input statement by including the prompt, quote, what is your favorite animal, inside the parentheses. I'm going to copy that and put it right there. So now some variable equals input, what is your favorite animal? Print, your favorite animal is. Run, I want to say the Hissopossum. Now, see, when I was a little kid, that's what I called a hippopotamus. I couldn't say hippopotamus. I called it a Hissopossum. So there you go. Your favorite animal is Hissopossum. Perfect. Because we know what the input was asking for now. Because it has the question in the box when it opens up. All right, let's look at slide number 5. Input was your favorite animal. Your favorite animal is, okay, this is an input statement and a print statement. Let's run this. What's your favorite animal? I'll just say hippo this time. Oh, look here. Name error, name fave animals not defined on line 5. We're printing your favorite animal is the fave animal. But if you notice, this is the first time fave animals appeared in this program. We ask it, what's your favorite animal? That's what we asked the user, but we didn't save that anywhere. We didn't do anything with it. We just asked it and went on. So when you have an input statement, make sure at the beginning, you tell it where to save that. Fave animal equals. So now when I enter something in here, it'll save it so that I can print it later. Do something with it. So I run it again and say hippo. Now it says your favorite animal is the hippo because it saved what I put. So don't just put an input statement without assigning it to a variable because it's kind of worthless. Why did you have that code in there? You didn't do anything with it. They entered it and it didn't make any difference. That's where we would clean that up later and say, if we're not going to save that and use it, let's just delete that line of code. It's just wasted memory. Right? It's just junking up our program. So you need to save it. Oh, it says now it wants me to type dolphin. Okay. It says, are you sure that's the right animal? Yes, I know what my favorite animal is, but it wants me to say my favorite animal is a dolphin. Okay. There you go. Just got to have fave animal in there. Last slide of this input sample. Define main, print, my favorite pizza topping is fave pizza top. So we don't have an input yet. So if we run that, it says, what is fave pizza top? So let's add another line of code here to say fave pizza top equals, and we need an input statement to ask the user what their favorite pizza topping is. So let's say input, what is your favorite topping to put on a pizza? That's a really long one. We'll see if we can print that whole thing in the box. I put a long one on purpose because I wanted to see. Let's see, run. Yep. What is your favorite topping to put on a pizza? I'm going to say Italian sausage. They wanted me to put cheese, so it's going to say what? My favorite topping, my favorite pizza topping is Italian sausage too. See, it should say it's cheese too, because they want me to type cheese. They're telling me what my favorite topping is. Okay, there you go. You're doing fine work with the input statements. Now it's happy I said cheese. So yeah, if you're worried about what it says down here, make sure you follow the directions up here. But just make sure your program works. My favorite topping is cheese too. And we can do, since we're playing with this and we're learning how to do input statements, we can say, let's call this frequency equals input. How often do you like to eat pizza? And then we'll print something with that. Print. I'll just print what they said first. Frequency plus, and then we'll say, put a question mark. I could eat it every day. Oh, parentheses. All right, let's see how that works. What's your favorite topping? Italian and sausage. How often you like to eat pizza? 3 times a week. 3 times a week, I could eat it every day. See, I'm having a conversation with the computer. Computer's asking me my favorite topping, how often I like to eat pizza, and it's responding back and saying things like we're having a conversation, like I'm chatting with the computer. It's an AI chat bot or something. And we can just keep doing that. We could just keep adding, and I could put these print statements in between where it responds right after we do that. Because it might help keep it a little cleaner where you can keep up with what you're doing. Ask it the favorite topping, respond, print that. Ask how often you like to eat it, print that. And so I could keep going. All right, that's our last slide on the Python guided activity. So you can go in here and play with this, get familiar with input statements, practice them, know how they work, because that's what we're going to do in this week's program assignment. Now, pseudocode. This is important because we're going to do this the rest of the year in all of our programs. And this is part of your grade when you turn in a program now. So pay a lot of attention here. Now that we're getting into more complex coding, like input statements, it's time to talk about pseudocode. So pseudocode is an outline of your code. You're basically planning your program. It goes through the steps individually in an easy to understand human language. When you begin to write longer code, you want to plan so you don't get lost. So we're going to outline our code in plain old English. Plain old English to help us structure the code that you will write. So we do this first. We call this pseudocode. We do this first. And pseudocode means fake code or false code. Pseudo is fake. So let's take a look at this example. So here's some example that we can use. So this is some pseudocode. Input, the name of the sandwich, the type of bread, the meat, the toppings. So this is obviously for a program that's taking a sandwich order from the user, right? What's the name of the sandwich you want to order? What kind of bread you want? What meats do you want? What toppings do you want on? And then the output, what's the program going to print to the screen? Display a message with the sandwich details, including the name, bread, meat, and toppings. Okay, this is a very nice pseudocode. Notice if I put this into Python, it's nothing but errors because this is not code. This is fake code. So use it to plan out your program from start to finish. I could take this and hand it to you, and you would know what to write in your program now. Oh, look, I need 4 input statements, and then I need to make sure I print all of this stuff. So you outline your steps as clearly as possible and use everyday words. I don't say print sandwich equals or anything. Print, sandwich input equals bread equals input what type of bread you want. No. That's Python code. Use short phrases to describe the steps, like input type of bread, input the meat, input toppings. And all pseudocode look different. If I had this, well, I actually did this. I had that first thing where give me the steps to what I have, make a sandwich, and they all looked very different. Make sure to review and make changes as necessary. So take a look at the following example, and let's select to see tips on writing good pseudocode. So the program purpose: write a program to take someone's sandwich order. They should provide details about the sandwich, including the name and what is on it. After the order is taken, it should repeat it back to the user. Pseudocode input: ask the user for the name of the sandwich. So the user, and use everyday language, but include any functions you'll use to help your plan. Input: name of sandwich, type of bread, meat, toppings. Any commands or important commands will make your program function properly. Output: describe what you want to see on the screen with your program. Print a message with the sandwich details, include the name, bread, meat, and toppings. It says, okay, we're going to practice using pseudocode. So ready to try your hand at writing pseudocode? Let's go for it. We're going to do this. The goal is to write a program that asks the user to answer a joke and print the response to the screen. The pseudocode for this program could look like this. Okay, this could be the pseudocode. Input: ask the user what computers like to eat. So there's what we wrote as pseudocode. This would be our input. Output: we're going to display 2 messages. One will be to state the user's guess. We're going to say, oh, you think it's this, and then we'll share the correct answer with the other message. So let's see the code that was written to match this pseudocode. Answer equals input, what do computers like to eat? Print: you answered that computers like to eat, plus their answer, which we saved, and we called it answer. And then print: here's the correct answer. Let's run the program. What do computers like to eat? I'm going to say mice, since they have a mouse, right? Let's say mice. And it says, you answered the computers like to eat mice. If you answered chips, as in microchips, you're correct. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, yeah, there was our computer joke. Chips. So compare the pseudocode and the Python code. Notice how each step of the pseudocode has been implemented in the program code. It said we would input, ask the user what computers like to eat. So then we wrote the code over here to do that. And we said output: display 2 messages. One will state the user's guess. So that was the first output, the first print statement. And then the second one was the correct answer. So this printed the correct answer. So these 3 lines matched up with the pseudocode we had right over here. All right, let's look at the second slide. Oh, look, define main and main. We only have the main function. We don't have any code. So let's go over here. Write a program to ask the user to answer a joke, repeat the answer. Here is our pseudocode. Here's what we're supposed to use to write our program. Somebody has already written the pseudocode for us for this program. So let's see if we can follow along. Input, ask the user, what part of a computer does a spider use? Okay. Answer equals input, parentheses, what part of a computer does a spider use? Quote, parentheses. Okay, I'll put another line there. Just Python doesn't care if we put extra spaces in here, but we can put extra spaces to make it easier to read instead of putting all jumbled together. You can do it either way. All right, so I did the input. Now what am I supposed to output? Display two messages. One will state the user's guess. Okay, so let me do that. Print, you said, quote, plus answer. And then I can just close it right there. Because I'm putting, this is what they said. Whatever they enter is going to be saved right there, and I'm going to print it. All right, what's my next line? The other will share the correct answer, webcam. Okay, print. If you said webcam, then you were correct. All right, that's it. Let's run the program. What part of a computer? I'm gonna say mouse again, just because I said mouse last time. I said mice. You said mouse. If you said webcam, you were correct. Ha ha ha. Oh, I didn't put the ha-has. I should do that. Ah ha ha. So there we go. Mouse. Ha ha ha. Yeah. So this pseudocode is all about just planning your program in English because we think in English. See, that's the end of the lesson. And then we'll have the assignment. I'll talk about the assignment in a moment. But first, I want to talk about the pseudocode. Because from this point on, all of our programs have to have included pseudocode. It's on the template. We'll look at that in a moment. But pseudocode should not be Python code. If you turn in your Python code as pseudocode, you don't get the credit. You don't get the points, right? So you'll get points for the pseudocode. You get points for those 4 questions you answer at the end, and you get points for your program. That's the 3 pieces you're looking for now. And that's how we'll do it the rest of the way. Now, here's how I generally grade pseudocode. First of all, it should plan out what the program should do, right? Right. If it does something totally different than what your program does, there's a problem because your pseudocode you write first. Write it before you write your program. And I should be able to take your pseudocode and email it to your grandma and say, "Hey, what are they writing the program about?" And grandma's going to like, I don't know how to program. I said, that's okay. Just read the pseudocode and tell me what the program's going to be. And grandma can read it and go, oh, they're going to write a program where they're going to ask the user what the spider uses in a computer, and then they're going to tell them what they guessed and what the answer is. Yeah. If grandma can read your pseudocode, that's good pseudocode. If I print out your pseudocode, take it over to Mr. Granderson, and Mr. Granderson's not a programmer, I say, Mr. Granderson, what's this program going to be about? He can look at it and go, oh, it's going to be about this, 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 this. Great. It should be something that someone has no idea how to program can tell you what the program's going to do. That's good pseudocode. If they look at it and say, I don't know, it looks like it has some kind of input and something, and, if you're writing code, that's not good pseudocode. So that's the biggest rule I look at. If you turn in Python code, no credit. That's not pseudocode, fake code, false code. You think in English, so that's why you write pseudocode. Just write it in plain English. We don't think in Python commands. That's not the way we think through a problem. We think through a problem in English because English is the language we know, and that's how we think. So make sure you're writing your pseudocode just in plain English. And then you take the pseudocode and we can make it into a program just like the samples. And you might want to go to page 3 and try those Python guided activities and see if you can write the code, because that's what you're going to need to do in this week's assignment. So let's take a look at this week's assignments. Follow the assignment template right here, but I've already created the template. So don't use the template here. Go to our Google Classroom, go to the Classwork tab. See, this is our Google Classroom right here. Go to our Classwork tab. This is week 7. Do this week in Buzz. Write your pseudocode where indicated on the attached template. Then write your program in idle based on your pseudocode, and then save that Python idle zip folder to turn in Buzz. And after you write your program, complete the questions at the bottom of the template, submit your template. So let's look and see what our program requires this week. So when you click on that, it has your name on it because it's going to make you a copy of this template. 1.05 string input template. 3 parts. Part 1, you're going to write a program to simulate a chatbot conversation, just like we were doing in the lesson, right? We're going to have a conversation with the computer. Write a program to simulate chatbot conversation. Here's the guidelines. Here's what your program must have. Decide on what your conversation is. So someone can have a computer. So you and the computer can be talking about whatever. The user can. You should have at least 3 interactive prompts. So there should be at least 3 things that the user has to enter when the program runs. It could be 5 things. It can be 10 things. It can't be 2 things. You don't get full credit. It has to be 3 or more. Input from the user should be assigned to variables and used in the conversation. If the computer is asking the user their name and never uses their name, never says, "Hi, Frederick," then why did we even ask their name, right? We didn't use it. We need to save it and use it. Oh, and at least once use the indexing or slicing technique. That's last week's lesson. So if you weren't paying attention last week, you probably ought to go back to 1.04 and practice some of that. And we'll look at that in just a moment. And then use concatenation to join string letters and string values. That's that plus that we're using in the print statement. And write the pseudocode for this program. Make sure you include any input and output that you need in your pseudocode. So right here is where you put your pseudocode. Insert your pseudocode here, not your actual Python code, just your pseudocode. This is what you should do first. You should plan what your inputs are. Input and figure out what questions you're going to ask. I'm going to ask the user this. I'm going to ask the user this. I'm going to ask the user this. Then your outputs. Then I'm going to display this. I'm going to display this. I'm going to display that. This is what I'm going to put out there. So make sure you use Python idle. Some of you forgot this part last time. Type a heading that has your name, date, and a short description of your program. Every program should have that at the top. In comments. In comments. Nothing that prints to the screen, just comments. Make sure you use meaningful names for all variables. Don't call it variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. That doesn't mean anything. Make sure you indent things properly. You can use white space. Like I said, Python doesn't care if I put extra space in there to make it easier to read. Here's a sample of what someone else did. Hi, I'm Wee. Oh, so the computer gave itself a name called Wee. Hi, Ada. The second letter of the name is D. They used indexing to pull out the second letter of their name. I challenge you to name an animal that starts with the letter D. Oh, that's a good one. They used the D and challenged them to name an animal with that. Oh, I saw a duck in my backyard yesterday. So obviously they used input name, then they used slicing, then they used input animal, then they used concatenation to say, oh, I saw this is whatever the user typed. The user typed duck in my backyard yesterday. And then they had another input, input animal sound is what it must have said, because the response from the computer was, Ada, you sound silly quacking like that. It was nice chatting with you, Ada. Bye. Okay. So that's just a sample. Just showing how they had 3 input statements and they did some slicing and they did some concatenation. And that's what's all required up here. It says use concatenation, use indexing or slicing, and have 3 inputs. Submit your Python idle.zip file. And then answer these 4 questions at the very end. So let's go back and think about this. How would this work? If we click idle, open that up. Let's talk about the slicing or indexing, because we need a refresher from last week on that. Bring this down there. It's still loading up. So if I was going to do a program and I got my 3 comments up here with my name, date, name, date, all that stuff up here. I have my define main. And let's say I said name equals input. What is your name? And then I could say, Brett, your nickname could be, and I'm going to take part of their name, like the first three letters. I'm going to take the first three letters of their name. So I'm going to take name, and using what we learned last lesson. Let's go back to the last lesson for those of you that need to go back and look at that. We learned indexing and slicing. So let's go to page maybe 4. I don't remember where we learned. Oh, slicing was towards the end, I think. Let's go back to farther back. There's indexing. Slicing's on page 6. Slicing strings. So I would say word equals word 3, bracket 1 to 6. 1 was the first character I wanted, which would be the second character. Remember, it starts counting to 0. And I wanted to stop at 6. So if I wanted to give their first 3 letters of their name, I would start with letter 0, because that's the first letter of their name, is letter 0, 1, and 2. So stop when I get to 3. Your nickname could be, and then I'm going to just test this. I got to put this before I can test it. All right, so here's my simple program. Name, date, purpose of program, define main. What is your name? Your nickname could be, so I'm using concatenation and slicing right here. I've got a lot of this already. What is your name? My name is Dude. What's your name, Dude? Your nickname could be Dud. Just getting the first 3 letters of it off, right? Your nickname could be Dud. Oh, I can put their name at the beginning. Name plus, and then I'll just change this to a comma and a lower capital Y. So I could say, my name is Dude. Dude, your nickname could be Dud. Or, if they type their name as Henry, your nickname could be Hen. Yeah, it's just using slicing to slice the first 3 characters off there. And we learned last time 0 to 3 means give me letter 0, give me letter 1, give me letter 2, but stop when you get to 3. I don't want 3. Just give me 0, 1, and 2. So that's a nice sample on how to actually use slicing in this case. And you can use it however you want to. You don't have to do a nickname thing. They did the second letter of your name is D, and then ask them a question about that. They use that D in their input. That's cool. Since D is the second letter of your name, I'll just ask you to name something that starts with D. So, all right, that is the assignment this week. The 1.05 template is in Google Classroom. Start with your pseudocode, plan your program. Start with your pseudocode, plan your program, and then start writing your code after that. And then after you're done with the code, go down to the bottom and answer those questions on the template. So 3 parts that you need to turn in. 2 of them are on the template, though. The pseudocode and the questions are on the template. So, all right. Questions about that? Understand what the assignment is? You'll need to look at lessons 1.04 and 1.05. So that because you're indexing and slicing from last lesson, you're inputting from this lesson. Like I say, every week when we learn these things, we're going to use them in a future program. So pay attention even on weeks that we don't write programs, because you're going to need those skills. So go in and practice those things in the lesson where they give you those little Python guided activities. All right, guys, this is a B day. So we have class on Wednesday for those of you who need to be here. RTI is already filled out. We're starting to do that on Fridays now. I updated it this morning. So any of you guys that turned stuff over the weekend that got your grade up, then I took you out of RTI. So it should be accurate that anyone's in RTI now should have a grade below 70%. So get stuff turned in, folks. Come Wednesday if you need help. So we'll see you guys. Have a great week.